Very much, colleagues. Good morning. Welcome to this post-Lekgotla outcomes press briefing, where we reflect with members of the media and South Africans about the decision to act at the recent Lekgotla of the ANC that took place over the weekend. So welcome. The Secretary General is going to walk us through the statement, and also we will address one or two other matters in the political environment. Thank you very much. Over to you, SG.
Began in earnest. The African National Congress, National Executive Committee Lekgotla, has successfully concluded its deliberation held from 24th to 26th January 2026. The Lekgotla was convened to reflect on the political, economic, and social conditions confronting the country, assess progress in implementing policies and resolutions aimed at improving the lives of South Africans, and adopt a focused, action-oriented program of action for the year ahead. ANC Lekgotla took place in the context of the January 8 statement, marking 114th anniversary of the African National Congress, which declared 2026 as the year of decisive action to fix local government and transform the economy. This declaration reflects the movement's sober assessment that the credibility of democratic governance, social cohesion, and economic recovery will ultimately be judged by improvements in the daily lived realities and experiences of the people of South Africa. ANC formally adopted its outcomes as a binding strategic framework guiding the work of the ANC, its structures, alliance partners, and deployed cadres across all spheres of government. The Lekgotla resolved that 2026 will mark a decisive shift from planning to execution, from fragmented interventions to coordinated delivery, and from change to visible, sustained, requires leadership that is decisive, disciplined, and people-centered. The ANC recommits itself to governing with humility, accountability, and agency, fully conscious of expectations and hopes of South Africans. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed the ANC's historic responsibility as the leading force for social and economic transformation and the strategic center of governance. The Lekgotla noted that South Africa remains anchored by a progressive constitution, resilient democratic institutions, and a comprehensive policy framework to advance inclusive development and a better life for all. The Lekgotla reaffirmed that the central challenge of the current phase is not policy absence, but uneven execution, coordination gaps, and variable institutional capacity. Addressing the Lekgotla, the ANC President, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, emphasized that development outcomes depend on disciplined implementation, effective leadership, and accountability at all levels of the state. The ANC Lekgotla therefore resolved to strengthen intergovernmental coordination, align planning and budgeting across spheres, and speed up the professionalization of the public service to ensure policy intent is translated into concrete results. The ANC will intensify oversight over governance performance while supporting capacity building interventions were required. The Lekgotla further reaffirmed the importance of strengthening the alliance and partnerships with labor, business, civil society, traditional leaders, and progressive formations, recognizing that sustainable development requires collective effort and shared responsibility. The Lekgotla reaffirmed that local government is the front line of democratic governance and the primary site where the state is experienced by communities. Water provision, electricity supply, road maintenance, sanitation, refuse removal, human settlements, and local economic development are central to restoring public confidence and dignity. In declaring 2026 the year of decisive action to fix local government, the ANC Lekgotla affirmed the implementation of the Local Government Action Plan adopted at the Councillor roll call in September last year. Key to the plan is a comprehensive service delivery acceleration framework anchored in the district development model. This framework aligns national, provincial, and local planning and budgeting through quote-unquote one district, one plan approach, ensuring coordinated implementation and accountability. Since the Councillor roll call, service delivery war rooms have been restructured, consolidated, and strengthened on the back lessons learned previously from local, district, metro, provincial, and national levels to follow up on service delivery issues. The ANC at national level will also soon launch a toll-free service delivery hotline. The Lekgotla further resolved to deploy rapid response technical teams to priority municipalities and institute weekly monitoring of delivery performances. Priority work streams include water reticulation, road rehabilitation, energy network stability, clean towns and cities, human settlements delivery, climate resilient infrastructure, and local job creation. The ANC Lekgotla further resolved to professionalize the interface between municipal political leadership and administrative leadership, strengthen financial management and billing systems, eliminate unfunded budgets, fill funded vacancies with skilled personnel, and enforce consequence management for maladministration and corruption. Through these measures, the ANC is committed to restoring functionality, credibility, and developmental orientation in local government. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed that economic transformation, industrialization, and job creation are central to restoring dignity, opportunity, and shared prosperity. While macroeconomic stabilization has laid an important foundation, the decisive task of the current phase is to translate stability into inclusive growth that expands productive capacity and creates jobs. The Lekgotla welcomed tangible progress in energy reform, particularly the implementation of the Energy Action Plan, which has resulted in sustained periods without load shedding, increased generation capacity, and accelerated grid investment. These developments have removed a major constraint on economic activity and investment. The ANC Lekgotla noted that government has committed over 1 trillion in public infrastructure investment over the current medium-term expenditure framework, focusing on water infrastructure, roads, freight rail, ports, and energy transmission. Through the infrastructure fund, blended finance projects exceeding 100 billion have been approved, crowding in private investment and accelerating delivery. Industrialization and localization remain the backbone of inclusive growth. Sectoral master plans across automotive, steel, agro-processing, clothing and textile, energy-intensive industries and critical minerals are being consolidated to improve coordination and accountability. Government procurement is being leveraged to support local manufacturing, supplier development, beneficiation, and township-based production. The NEC Lekgotla reaffirmed that unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, remains the most urgent socio-economic challenge confronting South Africa. The Lekgotla expressed deep concern that youth unemployment remains structurally high, reflecting historical underdevelopment and limited economic diversification. The Lekgotla resolved that job creation interventions must be immediate, targeted, and spatially responsive. Public employment programs, including the expanded Public Works Program, the Community Works Program, and the Presidential Employment Scheme, will be better coordinated to provide income support, skills development, and pathways into sustainable employment. Skills development was reaffirmed as a strategic lever for long-term employment creation. The NEC Lekgotla resolved to intensify investment in technical and vocational education, artisan development, digital skills, and sector-specific training aligned to industrialization priorities, with strengthened partnerships between TVET colleges, universities, SETAs, and industry. The Lekgotla further reaffirmed the importance of the social wage in supporting households while focusing on structural reforms and industrial strategies take effect. Continued investment in education, healthcare, housing, transport, subsidies, food security, and social protection remain central to reducing inequality and strengthening household resilience. The NEC Lekgotla reaffirmed that safety, justice, and the fight against crime and corruption are essential foundations for social stability, economic growth, and democratic legitimacy. Communities cannot thrive where criminality undermines trust, investment, and social cohesion. The Lekgotla welcomed the unwavering commitment of President Ramaphosa to the fight against corruption. The work of the Special Investigative Unit, Asset Forfeiture Unit, and law enforcement agencies has resulted in billions of rands recovered or preserved from the proceeds of crime, including investigations and convictions on state capture cases, demonstrating that focused political leadership and institutional coordination yield results. The NEC Lekgotla resolved to accelerate consequence management, ensuring that investigations lead to prosecutions, asset recovery, and institutional reform. Coordination across investigative, prosecutorial, and adjudicative institutions will be strengthened to improve turnaround times and outcomes. The Lekgotla further resolved to intensify the crackdown on illegal mining operations, including Zamazamas, whose activities terrorize communities, destroy infrastructure, undermine the rule of law, and endanger lives. A coordinated intelligence-led response involving law enforcement, border management, and mining regulators will be intensified. The NEC Lekgotla reaffirmed that gender-based violence and femicide constitute a national emergency that violates the dignity, safety, and fundamental rights of women, children and vulnerable persons, and undermines the moral fabric of society. The Lekgotla welcomed progress in implementing the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, including the expansion of specialized sexual offences courts, strengthened survivor-centered services, victim-friendly policing, and improved intersectoral coordination. The ANC Lekgotla resolved that 2026 must mark a decisive escalation in the national response to GBVF. This includes intensifying prevention programs, strengthening investigation and prosecution, reducing case withdrawals, expanding shelters and psychosocial support, and ensuring swift consequences for perpetrators. The Lekgotla reaffirmed that ending GBVF requires a whole-of-society approach and response, engaging men and boys, traditional leaders, faith-based organizations, schools, workplaces, and communities. The ANC commits to sustained political leadership until women and children are safe in all spaces. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed that effective, humane, and orderly border management is a core responsibility of the democratic state and a critical pillar of national security, social cohesion, and economic stability. South Africa's constitutional values, geographic position, and economic profile require a migration system that is principled, well-regulated, and firmly rooted in the rule of law, capable of managing migration flows while protecting the integrity of the state and the dignity of all people. The ANC Lekgotla welcomed ANC's leadership in initiating the white paper on international migration for South Africa, which provides a comprehensive framework to modernize South Africa's migration system and address long-standing weaknesses that have undermined public confidence. The Lekgotla resolved that the white paper must be urgently finalized and processed into legislation to become an act of parliament, providing clear legal authority for implementation, enforcement, and accountability across the state. The Lekgotla resolved that strengthening border management capacity is non-negotiable. This includes the full capacitation and operationalization of the Border Management Authority, enhanced coordination among security and law enforcement agencies, modernization of ports of entry, and the deployment of appropriate technology to secure land, sea, and air borders. These measures are essential to combat transnational crime, human trafficking, smuggling, and the abuse of immigration systems. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed that South Africa's commitment to Pan-Africanism and African unity must be balanced with the sovereign duty to regulate migration in a manner that is lawful, orderly, and fair. African unity does not imply the erosion of borders or tolerance of illegality. Migration must be managed in a way that upholds human dignity while safeguarding national institutions, public services, labor standards, and social cohesion. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed the national dialogue as a citizen-led platform to rebuild trust, foster unity, and confront shared national challenges. The national dialogue will be inclusive, transparent, and action-oriented. ANC structures at all levels will mobilize communities through branch dialogues, ward-based engagements, and sectoral forums to ensure broad participation. The Lekgotla resolved that the 30th anniversary of the Constitution must be used to deepen civic education, and reaffirm constitutional values. National unity is understood as shared responsibility, respect for diversity, and commitment to social justice. As part of the commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the Constitution, the African National Congress will intensify mass organizing and mobilization to defend South Africa as a sovereign constitutional democracy. Our Constitution is a product of struggle and popular will, and no foreign state or external interest has the right to undermine or infringe upon the sovereignty of the South African people. In this regard, the ANC, together with its allies, partners and progressive forces from civil society, labor, business, and community formations, will lead a mass national march on Saturday, 21st March 2026, with thousands converging from Beyersno Deer Park, adjacent to Luthuli House, to Constitutional Hill in Braamfontein. The mobilization will be coordinated nationally with ANC structures in Gauteng and neighboring provinces, forming the nucleus of the march in Gauteng. The ANC will further organize simultaneous marches across the country to ensure a unified and unmistakable national message. The movement will reaffirm through this mass action that popular participation is the foundation of constitutional democracy, and assert that South Africa's sovereignty belongs to its people and will be defended through their organized and conscious action, and reaffirm that South Africa must never tolerate to be bullied. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed that organizational renewal is an existential task central to the African National Congress' continued relevance. As a liberation movement and governing party, renewal is not a periodic exercise, but a continuous process that must be visible in leadership conduct, deployment practices, internal culture, and the quality of service rendered to communities. The Lekgotla reaffirmed that the credibility of the movement depends on its ability to live its values in practice, led by example and earn public trust through visionary, servant, capable, ethical, and effective leadership. The Lekgotla resolved to intensify the implementation of the Renewal Charter as the central framework guiding organizational building. This includes strengthening ethical leadership, enforcing discipline without fear or favor, and applying consistent consequence management for misconduct, underperformance, and behavior that undermines the integrity of the movement. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed that renewal requires firm, principled leadership that places the interest of the people and the organization above personal or factional considerations. The ANC Lekgotla further reaffirmed the importance of political education as a cornerstone of renewal. Political education through the foundation course and the O.R. Tambo School of Leadership will be compulsory and continuous for all members and leaders, ensuring that cadres are grounded in the history, values, and ideology of the ANC, as well as the practical competencies required for governance in a modern developmental state. Political education is essential to building disciplined, capable, and ethical leadership at all levels. The Lekgotla emphasized the need to strengthen systems of monitoring, evaluation, and accountability across all structures of the movement. Performance must be measured, excellence recognized and rewarded, and non-performance addressed decisively. Deployment practices must prioritize competence, integrity, and commitment to service, ensuring that those entrusted with responsibility can deliver on the mandate of the organization and the expectations of the people. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed the ANC's mass character and its historic role as a movement rooted in the daily struggles and aspirations of the people. Renewal must therefore be reflected in consistent presence in communities, meaningful engagement, listening to the concerns of the people and acting decisively to address them. A renewed ANC must be humble, accessible, and responsive. A movement that reconnects with communities, not only during elections, but as a permanent and trusted partner in social transformation. The ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed South Africa's commitment to progressive internationalism, Pan-Africanism, and principled multilateralism in a rapidly changing and increasingly contested global environment. The Lekgotla noted that the erosion of multilateral institutions, the rise of unilateralism, and the persistence of global inequality pose serious challenges to peace, development, and sovereignty, particularly for developing countries. In this context, South Africa's foreign policy remains firmly anchored in the values of justice, equality, solidarity, peaceful resolution and conflict, and respect for international law. In conclusion, the ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed that the true measure of its outcomes will be reflected in tangible improvements in the quality of life of our people. All ANC structures and deployed cadres are called upon to implement the adopted program of action with discipline, unity, and urgency. The Lekgotla extended its deepest condolences to the families and communities affected by the tragic scholar transport accident in Vanderbijl Park, which claimed the lives of 14 learners. The Lekgotla calls on all road users and transport operators to always exercise caution, patience, and responsibility. The ANC enters 2026 with determination to lead, to serve, and to deliver. We also pass our condolences to our comrades who passed away in a tragic road accident caused by floods in Mozambique. Comrade Andile Mgwevu, our MMC in Eguruleni. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. I will now, am I audible? Audible, okay. I was just looking at that signal, so I was trying to check. Oh, roving mic, okay. All right, I will turn to yourselves, colleagues, for sub-engagement. Following the read-up on the statement, I hope that by the end of this press briefing, I will not have put Mawande Shabalala and Samkelo Maseko in a naughty corner. Sunday World.
Thanks, good morning again, SG. In the name of the moving train, Kaizer Chiefs.
Yes.
You came here to torment me.
Yeah. SG, with regards to your statement, you speak of intensifying oversight over government performance. What do you mean exactly? What is it that you will do in that regard that you haven't done before? And can you simplify what you mean intensifying oversight over government performance? And then you also speak about national soon launching a toll-free service delivery hotline. I'm assuming you're speaking about the ANC. Isn't that overreach? Because I would assume that such issues are already happening in government. If you're talking about the ANC, what is it that the ANC will do? And also, how does that work vis-a-vis the previous program of that you already have oversight over government performance? So when you launch your own toll-free service delivery hotline, what is it exactly that you seek to achieve? Because also through your podcast programs, you interact with communities and you know what are their problems. Isn't that this one of those by-time tactics and being seen to be doing something or not doing anything? And then on the issue of immigration SG, I'm hearing a lot of English. Can you please simplify what is it that the ruler resolved? Bring a lot of effective management, but I'm struggling to simplify. If someone was to say, simplify what the SG said about immigration, I wouldn't be able to answer that question. And then the march on March 21, who are you marching against? Are you marching against Trump? Or are you marching to affirm South Africa's sovereignty generally? What is the trigger of this march? To put it simply, what issues outside this issue, SG, the issue of the Joburg Regional Conference? In the midst that is out there, can you assist SG to demystify this particular aspect? For instance, after election in any ANC conference, regional, provincial, national, after the ballots have been counted, the results have been announced, generally, what happens to those ballot papers end up? Because I'm trying to establish how these ones of Joburg find themselves to apply the role of an election agent president. Generally, what is the role? I know you'll say you're investigating, but just explain to us the process as it were, normal. What happens after the ballots? Where are they taken? How are they protected? And in this regard, who failed to make sure that that particular normal process is followed? Is it ANC security or what? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Was it Samtanda, News 24, and Marian Guardian?
Good morning, Mr. Mbalula. My name is Samtanda from News 24. With regards to the performance of your employees in government, did the ANC Lukutla at any point discuss the performance of mayors, specifically mayors in the Eastern Cape, in the two metros, the city and National Bay? I know that Princess Farm is in council today and they're dealing with a matter where vehicles are being sold because she has a two-year agreement with the sponsor, with the sponsoring agent to sponsor all WhatsApp. So now there's a whole thing in council. Given that, and also Babalolo Miche also has her own issue, she's accused of the removal of transformers, her account is frozen, not to bring her into that, but given those things happening around them and the performance of the ground in terms of service delivery, is the ANC not concerned going into the elections with these candidates, but not candidates, with these mayors at the helm? What is it going to do for the party? I mean, leading up to the ANC, they will start losing the only metric that they govern with the majority in the Eastern Cape. And then, in terms of news just in the Madlanga Commission, the President has opened the interim Madlanga Commission report. I mean, Mr. Mbalula, you have always said that people must be arrested. And that report, the President said that there are people who are found to, there's prima facie evidence of wrongdoing. What's your response to that? And in terms of the Apatembu King, he accepted a donation in the Eastern Cape and it was then handed over to hospitals. What's your response to that, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Lunga?
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Mine is just on the issues of Joburg.
What is that? Lunga from where?
Oh, very good.
We don't know, maybe you have changed employment.
Especially because you change a lot. Please go ahead.
So, there's a motion today against employee in Joburg. And my colleague here wrote that there was a meeting between national and provincial mentioned yesterday. What did you resolve? And by the motion was brought by the minority parties in the city, and they are part of government there. Will the ANC consider removing them should the motion fail today? And secondly, on the issue of the ballots, does it not then compromise the entire contracts if some of the ballots that were found to be not where they're supposed to be sealed? Because my understanding is that the ballots need to be sealed for about 6 months. Should there be any disputes? Does that then not open up the issue of Iran, people going to court? Because a recount at this point would be something that is totally out of it if the ballots are found that were out of the box. And then, I know the police were there. What case did the ANC actually open with the police in regards to those ballots? Thank you.
Thank you. I want to turn to the left if there's anyone who wishes to speak. I don't see any, so I'm going to ask the SG to respond to those questions.
Thank you very much for the questions. Starting with Mawande. About matters that relate to immigration. He says there's a lot of English here. So first, the Lekgotla affirmed that effective, humane, and orderly border management is a core responsibility of the democratic state and a critical pillar of national security, social cohesion, and economic stability. I think that is fundamental, it's not English. South Africa's constitutional values, geographic position, and economic profile require a migration system that is principled, well-regulated, and firmly rooted in the rule of law, capable of managing migration flows while protecting the integrity of the state and the dignity of the people. You strengthen your borders, that's what you do, and then at the same time, you become firm when it comes to what happens with everybody who have entered your country coming from everywhere else. The Lekgotla also welcomed the white paper on international migration to South Africa, which provides a comprehensive framework to modernize South Africa's immigration system and address long-standing weaknesses that have undermined public confidence. Public confidence, degeneration to the notion of xenophobia, which it is not the case. How do we then balance issues in terms of our own country without gravitating to lawlessness in the country? A toll-free number for service is for the ANC to monitor service delivery. We do service delivery monitoring at the present moment. We do have an intervention task team on local government, which is led by Stella Ndabeni, deputized by Dixon Masemula. So the toll-free will enhance the ANC capacity to respond and to advise local government everywhere in the country about the issues as we pick them up that are addressed by the people on the ground. Oversight coupled with that will be addressed as we do now. Meaning, in terms of the 10-point plan, we are guided that every 3 months we must give a public report about interventions we have made in terms of local government. That on its own is oversight. And so, without spelling out the details, among others, these are the things that we'll do. We have said in terms of this Lekgotla, we must do this quarterly. And that is what we're going to do as the African National Congress. On the march of the 21st, we're marching in defense of our sovereignty, which is under attack. We're marching against imperialist aggression, which seeks to dictate to what must happen to other states. We're marching against unilateralism, the undermining of multilateral forums in the form of the United Nations and so on, and creating peace boards and all of that, led by Donald Trump administration in the United States, imposing itself on wealth over countries as a world policeman, or whatever that it is, but world policeman, not even woman, over countries, and want to dictate to what must happen to countries. And we have seen what happened in Venezuela and what is likely to happen everywhere else. There is a big debate now around Greenland and all of that between Europe and the United States of America. So it's not only us, we join in the rest of the world in raising our voice. We ourselves have been targeted consistently here that we are conducting a genocide on white people. We have explained ourselves. We have been very decent, explained ourselves, but America has intensified its isolation, the isolation of our country, including in forums like G20 that it happened to lead after South Africa. And they sent us a clerk here. They did not attend the G20 itself. They sent a clerk. They didn't send the government. So there is what is called, in a lack of better words, quote unquote, Cold War between us and the United States of America and our country. So our country is under attack. The rest of humanity is facing this notion of isolation and unilateralism. That's what we'll be marching about. But at the same time, Human Rights Day, 21st of March, 30 years of our constitutional democracy that we're celebrating this year, and mobilizing our people and reminding ourselves about where we come from in our diversity. As much as others may not join us, but civil society and the rest, but even South Africans who are not in the political fold of the African National Congress, who have been patriots in defense of this country, we are amplifying their voices as the African National Congress. So that will be the expression on the 21st of March. So the ANC and its allies will lead this march, and the rest of the progressive civil society, labor, unions, and so on. Ballot papers, what happened with them after conference? They are supposed to be kept in a safe place in the provincial office or in the regional office, but sealed. That's what is supposed to happen. And in terms of our guidelines, they can only be disposed of after 6 months, because remember, after elections, there could be litigation. People can take you to court and demand that ballot boxes must be recounted and so on. And the simplest thing happened here in Johannesburg is that results were announced. After announcement of the results, there was an effecting of gender parity, and that raised questions. And there are people who complained, and we're following up on that particular complaint. So this notion that a conference that was democratically held, successfully so, is under attack is just absolute hogwash. And those in the ANC who are doing this and leading the charge without a water of evidence are just ill-disciplined. And the ANC, as guided by the Lekgotla and the General Council, in the context of renewal, we will deal with them. We'll follow up and deal with them. Because there is no branch of the ANC that is running on Facebook. ANC leadership has been attacked. the office of the SG, as though I've got anything to do with the conference. I'm the Secretary General of the ANC. I've deployed people to support the comrades in Johannesburg. The conference took place. There are many conferences that I've overseen from this building in different regions. In Limpopo, there were issues we followed up. There was no attack about SGs interfering. I have to attend to every complaint, post-conference, before and after, in relation to this. The incident of the ballot papers, it's an isolated incident, in which there was a tip-off, there is this thing going on of interference, opening ballot boxes. And indeed, that was followed up and working with the police, because the authority, in terms of the law, rests with the police. But the police were not leading that. It was ANC security who enlisted the escort of the police to go to that house. And we've got a full report about that. That report has been shared with the province, will be shared with national officials on Monday. It's an isolated incident over and above the issues that have been raised, and the province and the deployees who were at the conference giving us a report back in relation to the conference. You must first understand that we at national, we don't run regional conferences. They are run by the provinces. In the context of a PTT, it does that work working with the province, because their powers now are delegated, because they are not a fully fledged constitutional structure. They are delegated. So they were running the conference together with NEC members. So a report must then be forthcoming in relation to that. No one has cast aspersions on any leader and prejudice that a conference will be rerun or anything of that particular sort. Conference took place, and therefore comrades were there, and then they gave feedback, and we saw, all of us, even in the media, everything went well. So things got to the head and opened up post the conference, particularly with regard to the issues that relate to the announcement of the additional members. So we are following up on those issues. If we don't, we will be subjected to litigation and forced by the courts to act as the ANC. But even when we are subjected to litigation, we must be able to provide answers. And remember the courts, what they've said. They said that if you violate your own rules, the courts will act and pronounce. A judge who's sitting in a high court, listening to a case, who has never been part of a conference, has got no political issues, looks at the facts, and if the ANC is found to be in the wrong in terms of implementing its own rules, it will then, the judge will rule against. We have won many cases, as you will know, in different regions in the country. Why? Because we have been consistent in implementing the rules and following the constitution of the African National Congress. So what happens with the ballot boxes after the elections? They must be kept in a safe place, not in bedrooms. They must be kept in a safe place. I can't take ballot boxes to my house. And if that is the case, there must be a cogent reason for that. And then if they are opened and tampered with, there must be a cogent reason for that. I'm sure you saw yourselves somebody running with ballot boxes behind the house covered with a gown. Into yokulala, a gown. Ucho ukuthi ballot must be bedroom or empedweni. Ziputhelwe a gown. Why? Because if you are supposed to follow the law. You're supposed to say, I sent 2 people there, Kumbuzo, which has got nothing to with intelligence. She's the head of deployees in Gauteng. I sent Cde Fikile Mbalula. He's a deployee in Gauteng. Mahlenge could not go because he was busy managing you. And then thirdly, I told Hope, who knew about it already. Hope activated Matafa, who was working with the agency in terms of overseeing the... So all those people must bring a report. ANC security went there following a tip and they found what they found. Because here you hear most every day that conference was bought, but you don't have evidence. Here people were having money in the conference, but you don't have evidence. And most time, people who raise these things are the ones who have lost. And they want to behave like as if bona bebengana mali. Kanti babethwe nemali yabo in the conference. Udliwe nemali yakho. Manje you start blaming others that they had money. If you don't bring evidence that Mahlengi ubehamba ngesijumbana, simbophe. And masukuthola uhamba ngemali eningi econference ye ANC. Senzani sukubizela amaphoyisa ngoba those are the people who've got authority to arrest people. So you can't come and ask me nonsense that what were the police doing there? How will ANC security conduct its business in that house without the police? Because those people today will have opened a case against the ANC that they are abused, this and that and that. We opened the case because that is the ANC property that we found there. And we followed up on the ANC property. So the details around this issue belong to the ANC. The ANC will resolve on them. And therefore the police will do their job. Fraud, you ask what case is open, fraud, and at the same time undermining the electoral rules that governs institutions in civil society in general in overseeing matters of this nature. There is law in this country that needs to be followed. Bazayipenya amaphoyisa, and then we'll give them the evidence that we've got and all of that, and witnesses of this crime that is alleged to have happened. So people must not rush. We're running organization here. And there's nobody who said the regional conference is under question. No. There's no regional conference that is under question here. There are issues, complaints that have been raised, in particular in relation to the election of the additional members. I've never received anybody who says that, no, this conference SG must be. All the complaints that I received, which the province have got, which have got nothing to do with the Sunday incident, isolated. How Samkele got there, he must answer it, is next to you there. So, he's a journalist. How Kotatso got my letter, he must answer you, is next to you there. They get it from here in the ANC. Because ANC people buy a legal, Ngabo abazagini, so mina Mbalula SG, I can't blame you. ANC people take their dirty linen. Engafunwa ngumphakathi. Bayinike nina nibe seniyabhala. I'm Samkelo Masepko reporting from Pretoria. So ngizoyithini mina lonto? Ndizoyithini mina ngizoyithini ithatha? Ukuthi no, a journalist ukuthi ifike njani lapho and all of that. That operation was quiet, and then it so happened that at some point when it was shared with other people, in no time, journalists got it. And that's what happened. So I can't blame the media. I must chase these leakers in the ANC who leak to the media and protect the ANC in terms of disrepute. But journalists, when they get information, they follow it up, just like me. Here at Lutuli House, when I get information, they are landela up. There is this thing. I follow it up. So how would we have known that house? We don't even know that house, what is happening there. The owner must explain. And by the way, that election agency was appointed by Lutuli House. It was not appointed by the province and the region. Singa appoint abantu lana. Last time we appointed people here, and then there was tampering, and we had to open a commission of inquiry to check. ANC was nearly wiped out. And I gave you the report. And Madaji was being blamed that he interfered with the outcome. So we can't take things for granted. So if there is tampering, and at the same time, there are people who were sent by the ANC there, and they derelicted on their duty, and certain things happened, and they can't account for what happened, ANC will take steps, because they risk the organization to being brought into disrepute. Because when you are sent by the organization to oversee a particular process, you do it without doubt and diligently and deliver. So I want to reiterate, there's no question about the Johannesburg conference. Nothing. And people must stop disabusing themselves that there is a problem, the conference is hanging in a cloud. It's not. It's not. When the conference concluded its business and comrades effected changes in terms of their own announcement, they must explain those things. That's all. And then the incident has got nothing to do with the conference. It has got something to do with people who oversee the conference to explain themselves. That's all. And then we also have our facts in relation to what we followed when we went there and what we found. And we found what we did. And that's it. Sia, mayor's performance, that's an ongoing work. You know, there is what is called macro-management of governance. Macro-management of governance is this thing that you are from outside, you are not even in the municipality, you are not even an elected representative, but you want to dictate issues of transformers and all of that. The person who've got authority to respond on those issues are those elected representatives and the officials of the municipality. Should there be any wrongdoing that affect our public representatives and it is proven that they've done something wrong, we will then be in a position as the ANC to take steps. But we don't micromanage government. I don't call ministers here at Luthuli House and tell them that liatenda ngawisele kumahlengi leisele. Why did this happen? I will be transgressing. I will be transgressing. My job here is to enforce and to monitor policy of the African National Congress. Issues of people running around with BMWs, they're misbehaving in the municipalities, they must explain themselves to the authorities. Should they be found on the wrong, the ANC will take steps. So come and tell me here that Ufaku has done the following things in terms of BMWs, is it wrong or it is proven. I've seen the letter here doing the rounds about transformers and all of that. What about transformers? Did Mbalula do something wrong with transformers? I must then get the report and then intervene appropriately there and then ask them, why do you misrepresent and bringing our party by being our representative in council and doing things that are wrong? But at the same time, they must follow the PFMA, they must follow the Municipal Act in doing their work, and then they must appoint the right and competent people, as we say in the statement, to execute. You can't appoint people who are not competent to advise you, to run a municipality, and all of that. They will take you to the dungeon, and that is it. So if you employ proper, competent people who are skilled, they will not be able to lead you to the dungeon and in a wrong way. They will give you proper guidance. And that is what we're emphasizing as the ANC. Yes, we still reiterate that if there is prima facie evidence that the law has been broken, we don't have to wait for the outcomes of the commission. The police must do their job and arrest these people. That's why we are very happy when Ekurhuleni is taking the steps that it does under Dr. Xhakaza about all those who are involved in the Madlanga and implicated in as far as it affects the municipality of Ekurhuleni. We are very happy about that because that is the line we have said we must take. Should anyone be found on the wrong side of the law, Madlanga Commission and its terms of reference allow for anything to happen. It shouldn't be like Zondo. We only want to act at the end. But it is very clear from the evidence here that this fellow has broken the law. Even a child can see that this thing that is explained here in the commission, there's a lot of law breaking here. So we don't have to wait. The police must act. The state institutions must act where the law has been broken. With regard to Abatembu King, look, we don't support Israel as the ANC. And obviously, what the king is doing there is a betrayal of solidarity with the Palestinians. And doing it arrogantly and blatant like that, it's unbelievable. That's all we can say. It's unbelievable that somebody who comes from a struggle background, who himself he was in exile, and his father was a stalwart of our movement and liberation struggle, can simply forget all of that and side with a state that kills people, annihilate them. It will be something else if the king goes to Israel and go to Palestine. But to insult the cause of the Palestinians in the soil of the Israelis, I mean, it's a betrayal. And nobody must take it light. From where we come from where he himself come from, spending time in exile and him being trained even in MK, Mkhonto Wesizwe, King Buyelekai, and today he's on the side of Israel alone to oppress the Palestinians and say that he's working with the West. He's working with the West, he's supporting the West. I mean, it's disappointing. Yes, we can differ, but this one is something else. For somebody who has fought for freedom, today to be on the side of those who are oppressed and not taking at least a stance that I talk to everybody. I've spoken to the Palestinians, I've spoken to the Israelis. I want them to come to the negotiations and talk about peace. At least that is reasonable. That is reasonable. But to simply take a stance and scorn on the struggle of the Palestinian people, it's a betrayal in itself on the part of the king, and in fact, it's a disappointment. So if he insults me, it's fine. But he must know that we abhor that kind of behavior from a person coming from him. If it was people like Herman Mashaba, I won't be shocked, you know. But coming from the king, I mean, it's unbelievable. If it comes from the DA and all of that doing what, I wouldn't be shocked, you know. But coming from somebody with such struggle credentials, who himself have witnessed, not just witnessed, went to the bush to prepare himself to come back home and fight. No, it's unbelievable. And coming from that background, where he comes from, it's unbelievable. Lunga, minority parties notion, we don't support that. The same as when Kenny Kunene was not allowed to go back, we intervened and said, no, but we can't dictate to Patriotic Alliance who they must bring to the legislature. Who are we? We are in coalition with them. And we have agreed to give them the portfolio of transport. Ne? It was transport for Ken. We have agreed. And that is why people said we are surrendering. We are not surrendering. It is what we agreed with them. Now, why minority parties, if they've got a grievance against our mayor, they will gang up against their coalition partner and demand that the mayor must resign and the ANC must give them another mayor. It has never been done. Nowhere. We were with Gwamanda here for the longest of time. Have we ever demanded that they must give us somebody? They don't have somebody, they've got Gwamanda. And Gwamanda is there from the point of Al-Jama. He was arrested, isn't it? But he's still in cancer. He's not convicted. He was arrested, I think he's on bail. Remember those accusations that he was... They withdrew the charges. Okay, but we didn't do anything about it. So you can't dictate to other parties. If there is something he's doing that undermines coalition partners, they must raise that with us so that we rein on Dada. And if ever we come to a conclusion that we need to remove him, it is our case. And if for some reason our comrades in Johannesburg have got a view that now that conference has come, they want changes. Because I hear also this murmuring that actually this motion also include ANC underground. I hear that, even though they are not proven. And I raised them with the provincial leadership. It will be unfortunate because the ANC doesn't work like that. If you are a structure of the ANC, you sit down as a collective, take a decision, make a proposal to the national structure, which is responsible for running metros, and say, for whatever reason, we have come from a conference now, we think there must be change of leadership. You propose that to the leadership. If the leadership says yes or no, then you understand. That's how we work in the ANC. That's why I don't believe that our comrades in Johannesburg can do such things. I think it's just, attack on our ecosystem politically, exploiting the fact that there are differences post-conference. As a matter of fact, on record, Joburg comrades themselves have said that Dada must continue without us. And then Loyiso have pledged the support. And it's always an advantage if a woman comes to a position of leadership and lead in a bitter contest that took place. Nobody died. Loyiso went free and square in terms of that conference from the reports that we got. And it's good for women to emerge in these structures, the same as in the Eastern Cape in Khobusa, Princess Babalo emerging there. And also in the Amatole region. And then in Alfred Nzo's region, Zileng, she's now a mayor. We are happy about that. Women coming into the ranks and leading from the front in terms of the regions, Maina in Limpopo, and Popi for the first time, woman premier, and now being touted to become the chairperson. To become the chairperson of the province. It will be history in the making. Women are coming. Who knows? Maybe in the next conferences they will lead the ANC. I don't want to venture into that because that discussion will come at the right moment. But I'm just giving you that in Rustenburg, the woman there is a chairperson. So a lot of women in the ranks of the ANC are coming at the helm of the organization, which is really encouraging. So, Lunga, we will not support that motion. So, we have engaged our partners, and we said to them through hope that let's talk issues that of governance that we need to resolve, but not to say to the ANC who must be the mayor. We are focused now on the task who want to destabilize government 10 months before the elections. We don't know when the elections will take place, but we presume that it will be in November or December or wherever time that it will take place, but it's 10 months. All political parties are now focusing on their tasks in preparing and gearing themselves for local government. We are busy here destabilizing government. You bring a new mayor, what is that mayor going to do? Besides data and all of that, who comes from the ANC as well, what is it going to do? Destabilizing local government and so on. So we are for stability in this regard. And we don't support this minority party's motion and so on. I've answered the question of ballots rerun. I've answered that question. The case is opened. Frauds, also informed by the electoral law and all of that. The case was opened on Sunday at Gasfontein police station. That's where it is actually opened. So we'll sit with the police. They will give us a brief on the investigations in relation to this particular matter. But these are matters we are handling and dealing with going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we still have any more hands? SABC?
Some evidence in the SABC. I've got a question here from my colleague, Cde Phillips. The witness testifying at the head of committee yesterday and today has repeatedly testified that Fikile Mbalula, who was the Minister of Police, instructed Police Commissioner Kehlas Chole to ask him to purchase the 45 million rands grabber for national conference. The response, sir. And secondly, he also testified that the money was inflated in order to use as part of the funds for the conference. Your response to that, the allegations of having bagged the money for that conference to buy it. And then lastly, there's an issue around the Ekurhuleni. Have you instructed the newly elected speaker to resign? Have you instructed the newly elected speaker of Ekurhuleni municipality to resign in your current negotiations with the economic freedom fighters? Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any new hand, so I'll take it that one is a closeout. SG.
Matters of the police, Samkel, are very complicated. And you take decisions informed by security issues. So I'm not going to respond to that particular question because it has been doing rounds for quite some time, and it even went as far as being investigated. And in this particular instance, I've never given an instruction to any operative in whatever manner that operative can. So I suppose if he mentions my name or would have said when I was minister, I'm not DG of police, commissioner. In my era, there are many things that have been said about me there in that commission. In my era, when Makaka died, I had that as well. In my era, I took the following decision. Bayandifuna and Yabon, Kulea Commission and so on. So I can't respond to that. If I'm required to do so, I will follow the due processes that need to be followed. But in this particular instance, let's allow the commission its piece to do its work. They will evaluate the evidence and make a determination. With regard to Ekurhuleni, we didn't take any decision to withdraw the speaker. Our comrades there now are focused today in the municipality to fill up the vacancies in the municipality, and that work is being undertaken. And of course, we have lost our comrade, which were in mourning in that municipality. And once those processes are concluded, we'll be able to respond properly. But there's been discussions between political parties at that particular level, between the ANC as well as all the other parties that are involved in that coalition of Ekurhuleni. But from our side, there is no decision to withdraw the Speaker today in whatever negotiations that are taking place, as that has not been the request. The Speaker has been elected, political parties fielded, and the ANC won. And that's where we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. I get a sense of apprehension. I think you were looking for some very tough words. You seem disappointed, SG. But anyway, colleagues, thank you very much for coming through. We are available for one-on-ones and continue to communicate on these matters. And so we are adjourned. Thank you, SG.